Imagine realizing your whole life story ended up being a lie. Well, I don't have to imagine because that is me. This video called I'm a Loser was a video I released about a year and a half ago going over my whole life story. It was pretty much my movie where I struggled as a kid, dealt with a lot of things that are very relatable to you, but ultimately I succeeded, I built muscle, and I have 100K subscribers on YouTube. But to be quite honest, this year I've grown so much through some struggles of mine, aka the story of life, because life is not all sunshine and rainbows. And I got into a position very well illustrated by Tony Robbins, which is that you only change when the pain of staying the same hurts more than changing. And I've grown more in the first 2 months of 2025 than I did in the entirety of 2024. And I grew so much that I look at this video, the way I used to talk about myself, the way I talked about my story, completely different. And I would actually say the way I talked about my story was completely wrong. This video isn't for me, this video is for you. I'm going in front of thousands of people being vulnerable on the camera. So in spite the YouTuber job being the most popular for kids and their dream job, this particular type of video isn't all that fun. However, I am like an older brother to many of you, and a really smart younger brother to some others. And I know this video will give you tons of value. All I ask for my vulnerability is you drop a like so that other people who might get benefit from me being vulnerable, me talking about my life story and struggles, will see this video so they don't make the same mistakes that I did. When you go through a hard moment in your life, it is God, the universe, whatever you believe in, telling you there's something inside you need to fix. And that happened for me, so I did some really deep soul searching. And I actually figured out what my childhood really meant. If you've already watched the I'm a Loser video, you would know what my childhood was, but I'm gonna talk about how I was raised, and my parents watch my videos sometime, and I just wanna let them know that I love you guys. You guys raised me the best you could, and you were the perfect parents for me. However, nobody in life is perfect, and I figured out things in my childhood that led me to valuing things in the world that were really bad, aka looks, money, status, and girls. So in my household, I lived in a performance-based living situation. Examples of this is that my parents pushed really good grades on me, like doctor level grades on me, ever since I was 6 years old. I remember going into kindergarten the first time, I was being told by my parents how important good grades were and how important your report cards are. Combine this with the fact that I did karate and got a black belt in that, when I didn't want to do it, yet it consumed 7 years of my life. I grew up in a household where my performance mattered more than who I actually was. And this is illustrated now. I built muscle as a performance metric. I built my fitness channel as a performance metric. I got 100K subscribers on YouTube as a performance metric. I made more money as a performance metric. I got more followers on all platforms as a performance metric. Because as a kid who grows up in a performance-based household, you think performance equals love. So this little kid thought, okay, for me to have love, to me to be loved, I need to go out in the world and prove myself. I need to be somebody. AKA also the red pill masculinity definition of what a real man is. And I hit puberty really late, like 16, 17. I know a bunch of people who were 11 years old who were bigger than me when I was like 15 years old at the time. And this contributed to the first traumatic experience of my life, which I talked about in my I'm a Loser video. In middle school, everyone starts hitting puberty. They start getting bigger, they start getting taller, except I didn't. Genetically in my family, we have late growth spurts or we hit puberty late. So I was already the smallest kid in my class, so the gap just got bigger. I was just way smaller. I looked 3 to 4 years younger than I was, which made me feel embarrassed all the time. I go to a party, someone would ask me, how old are you? I'd be 15. They'd be like, no way you're 15, you're like 10 or 11. That really hurt inside, and it sucked too because it wasn't anything I could control. I couldn't control when I hit puberty or when I grew. The only thing that allowed me to have any sort of confidence was sports. Despite being small, I was really skillful. So I wasn't athletic in terms of strength, speed, performance aspects, but in terms of skill, I was always at the top. And in middle school, my main sport was basketball. And despite my brother and I being the smallest kid, we made the A team or the first team for our middle school basketball team. Brother and I making the first team for 7th grade basketball ended up killing our confidence. We got into a game and we made like a bad play. I don't think it was a bad play, but it was within 30 seconds of coming in. The coach yanked us out of the game and we only played 30 seconds our first game. And my brother and I went to our dad crying because we just didn't feel like it was fair and we didn't get to play, and it killed our confidence for the rest of the season. And that experience literally killed my confidence for pursuing basketball for the rest of my life. So although I kind of glossed over it in the video, that was the first traumatic event in my life. Or better phrased, it was the first event in my life that defined my self-identity and my self-story, which is that my confidence, my value, my worth, my love was all dependent on how good I was at something. And I glossed over that experience, but that experience actually really scarred me, and I didn't really know it. And as a kid, and even adults now, when something bad happens in your life, whether it's super traumatic or just like makes you sad for a day, you want to suppress the emotions instead of letting them out. Which seems great, you feel better sooner, but when you suppress emotions, you have to understand that that's your body, your ego, protecting you and making sure you never feel that again. So for me, what was the way to never feel that again? To become worthy to the world, and we all know society values looks, money, status. But me getting yanked out of a game, embarrassed, crying to my dad after the game, not feeling good enough at something he loved, which was basketball for me, that event created my story, my self-story of I'm not enough. Others are better than me because they're better at basketball. They're taller than me. They're more muscular than me. They look older than me. And from that moment on, I began to desire not what I thought of myself, but desired what the world thought of me and desired worldly things. Like materialistic things, those are worldly things. Money is a worldly thing. A bunch of girls, that's a worldly thing. If it sounds like I'm rambling, trust me, there's a major point here. Just keep watching. I will change your life. Just please trust me here. Let's have some trust with each other. And because we trust each other, drop a like I said. I'm giving you my whole life story by going over this dude's trauma. But my sophomore year was pretty brutal. We got a new coach. And again, I still hadn't hit puberty yet in my sophomore year of high school. So we had all the guys line up and the new coach chose who got to play and show them like what you're capable of. And he skipped over me and my brother in the line. And when all the kids went onto the field, I realized my brother and I were the only ones that got skipped. And that hurt so much because I couldn't control that I was still small. But because I was small, I didn't even get a chance to show what I was capable of. So to sum up, if it wasn't clear, I was a sophomore in high school and we got a brand new coach at our school. And he was picking people to go play for the JV team. Well, not play. We were like having a practice and he wanted to see how good people were. So he was just picking players to go play and see if they were any good. And he skipped over my brother and I and picked every single other person. This led to me having to play for the freshman team when I was a sophomore in high school. Not because I wasn't good enough, because eventually he wanted to bring me up to that team, but my coaches on the freshman team didn't let him. But the reason I didn't play was because of the way I looked, because I looked younger, because I was small and skinny. So at that point, I was like, okay, the world values how you look. And this fueled everything I ever did. This pain I felt, this self-image I had that I'm small and weak and I need to overcome that, and I'm not worthy to the world because of those things, they drove me to do everything I ever did, which honestly seemed pretty good. For most people's standards of external success, I'm pretty muscular, I got a six-pack, I got a pretty big YouTube channel, I've got some status, I make good money, like it seems pretty great. But those things covered internal problems, which I didn't notice until I analyzed my relationships. I will talk about this maybe in the future when I muster up the courage, because this is different level of vulnerability that I'm not ready for yet. But to kind of sum up, basically, all of my breakups, all of my flings or whatever you want to call it, all were the exact same. Because if you guys didn't know, like attracts like. And what does that mean? You attract people with the same pain frequency as you. I didn't plan on saying this, but I guess I'm this far deep. Because I didn't love myself, I kept attracting girls who didn't love themselves either. So then all of my relationships ended the same exact way. Because there was a lesson God was trying to teach me that I wasn't learning. Because I was distracting myself from the heartache by pursuing my business and my fitness and all these things. This is why the videos over the last week or so have been tackling the same topic. Because wanting looks, money, status, and all these external things from the world are distractions for the void in your heart. And when I was a kid, instead of working on my business and working on fitness, the distraction was video games. I mean, I was addicted to video games so much so that when I wasn't playing video games, I was thinking about them. And the reason I was thinking about video games is because it distracted me from actually looking in the mirror and realizing, man, you don't love yourself. You kind of hate yourself. which I didn't know, and now I'm dealing with the consequences of healing that broken guy. Now it's time for the lesson that I've been wanting to teach you. Your self-identity and your self-story drives everything. If you think you're a loser, you're gonna act like a loser, and you're gonna attract things into your life that a loser would. And until you fix your core wounds of scenarios that made you think you're a loser, you're gonna continue to be a loser. Let me give you a quick story here. Let's just say there's a girl who loved to sing. She had a great voice and was really loud and always happy, so she would sing all day in her house. But when her mom came home one day when she was upset from work and she just wanted some peace and quiet, she yelled at her daughter, "You have the ugliest voice I've ever heard, can you just shut up?" This caused the daughter to become shy for the rest of her life and to think her voice was ugly because of a traumatic event in her life. And her self-image and her self-story, because of that one scenario, became that I have an ugly voice, no one wants to hear me talk, and it's better if I just shut up. Yes, it's scary, and you probably think, I don't have a scenario like that. And I thought so too, and if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I'd have been like, no, I'm fine. But the reality is we all have certain events in our life that create a self-identity, a self-story that prevents us from living to our full potential. And for me, it was 2 sporting events when I was in middle school and high school, plus how I was raised, which caused me to feel unworthy, unloved, and believe that the only place to feel the feelings of worth and love were if I got good at something, if I proved myself. And unfortunately, no matter how much you succeed, that void of wanting to prove yourself, to make more money, to get more girls, more status, is a void that keeps on sucking, and it will never be filled. So you might be wondering, how is my life story a lie? Well, go look at the title of the video I made for my life story. I'm a loser. The truth. You see how bad that is? I was looking at my past self as a loser. I was looking at myself without accomplishment as a loser. And this goes pretty deep, and it's really sad that I was looking and I thought of my past self as a loser, and everything I've ever done since those moments with basketball and soccer, I've been looking to correct that kid. I've been looking to correct my inner child, my old self. With all the things I've been kind of going through in my life now, I was thinking, okay, I need to forgive my parents, I need to forgive my friends, I need to forgive people who hurt me. When the reality was, yes, I need to forgive those people, but I need to forgive myself. This guy was a cool dude. He was fun, he was funny, he was just hurt and felt unloved. This kid right here, he never cared about money. He never cared about success. He never cared about status. He never cared about getting girls. And the only reason I even cared through my YouTube journey about those things was because that's what I thought the world cared about. So I wanted it, and I wanted to be accepted by the world. I was like, when you get these things, that's how you get validation, approval, respect, and love. When that's completely wrong. Because I'd always felt small the entire time I was growing up, I wanted all these things for validation, not for myself. Because that's what your ego wants you to do. Your ego is your enemy. Your ego is telling you that you need these things for validation. My ego was telling me, Mario, if you want to be loved, if you want to feel like you're enough, you got to get all these things. But what that meant at my core was I never forgave myself. And for you, since you're into fitness, you're probably into self-improvement, you probably haven't forgiven your younger self, but instead you're trying to correct him. Instead of correcting him, you need to forgive him. My whole thought process of I don't feel loved, I don't feel weak, so I gotta get a girlfriend. Those were thoughts that were going in my head. Those were my ego and the wrong thoughts. Thoughts that should have been going in my head were I need to love myself and stop hating myself and realize that I'm an awesome dude, I'm worthy by just being God's child. And in terms of the girl, I should find a girl that I can love, not the other way around. That's how you truly live your life. My last point here is this anime clip. I don't like anime, but it came up on my Instagram reel and it perfectly illustrated what I'm going through or what you might be going through.
If you truly want to let go, you must first fall in love with the part of you that's holding on. The part of you clinging to what was isn't something to be rejected or forced away. It's something that needs understanding and compassion. This attachment exists for a reason. It's the part of you that seeks comfort, familiarity, and protection, even if it no longer serves your growth. Letting go is not about waging war with yourself, but about embracing and healing the aspects of you that are afraid of change. Only when you accept and love the side of you that holds on can you gently release its grip. Transformation doesn't come through force, but through understanding. In loving what you're resisting, you finally give yourself permission to move forward.
A lot of you know my quick rise to fame, if you want to call it. That was in about 2023, now we're at the beginning of 2025, and I hit a plateau. I was wondering, why did I hit a plateau? Well, first it's because the views and the money and all that stuff didn't really matter to me. It just made me feel enough. But the main reason is I didn't let go. What did I not let go of? I didn't let go of my past self. It said in this video that you look back at this person with comfort and protection, which is like basically what I've been doing. Everything I do was for compassion and protection for this little guy. But there gets to a point where it stunts your growth. And that's where I am now. And I need to let this version go. I need to give him love and recognize that this young version of me was awesome. He wasn't a loser. He was actually a pretty fun guy. I need to forgive him. I need to apologize for him for saying he's a loser. I need to get into peace with the younger version of myself and love him, which sadly enough is the only thing he ever wanted. And ultimately, this guy wasn't a loser. He was perfect. He didn't need to build muscle to become perfect like he thought. You should still build your body. I'm not saying you shouldn't because your body is your temple. But him and me now are the same guy. We are perfect, we're lovable, and we are worthy because we are children of God. And nobody's better than anybody, no matter how much you do in the world, because we're all children of God. And once you actually make the effort to connect with God and understand and feel His love because you're His child, that's when you will truly receive the power of God and you're actually able to achieve the dream He set out for you.